That's the thumbnail. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about one of the first books that I read on my 2024 TBR list. If you have not checked out that video, please check it out. I will put the card up um, on this video so that you guys can check it out. But the first book on that list was something that was on pre-order. It debuted back in March, which was last month. And this writer, I freaking love this writer. I've read his other two books, and when I found out that he was coming out with this new book, I was like, I have to check this out. So with that being said, we are going to talk about I finally bought some Jordans by Michael Arceneaux. That's the thumbnail. Anyway, so yeah, Michael Arceneaux's, this is his junior novel. I guess it's not, I don't know if they treat it the same way artists treat like their records, but he has had two other books. So I have those. The last time I didn't feel like getting them, but I got them this time off of my bookshelf. The first novel, his debut novel, was I Can't Date Jesus. And says, I can't say Jesus, love, sex, family, race, and other reasons I put my faith in Beyonce. It's like a long title. So this was his debut novel, which I actually read this second. His second novel came out, which is I Don't Want to Die Poor. And I actually read this novel first. I had purchased both of these, but for whatever reason, I never got around to reading the novel. Because, like, sometimes I'll, like, purchase a book and then just, like, sit on it. And at the right time, it'll come to me. But I ended up reading his sophomore book first, which I freaking loved. And then I read his debut novel second. So if you guys want me to do reviews on these two books, please let me know. I can do that. But right now we talking about I finally bought some Jordans. So to explain Michael Arceneaux's writing style, he writes basically a collective of essays. They tend to focus on a reflection of his experience, also mixed with pop culture references, political references, the experience of the queer, the trans, LGBTQIA experience. He tends to focus on those factors in his writing, and he is very funny. That's one of the things that I love about his writing, is that he's very well versed and he could talk about basically anything. Like one moment he's making a housewife reference, and then one moment he's talking about, you know, the House of Representatives. It's just like he's very well versed in that way. So I love reading his work. So let me just get into like some of the titles of the chapters, and then I'll talk about the book. So some of the chapters that I highlighted that I really enjoyed, and ultimately this is kind of, I don't want to say it's a spoiler, but I enjoyed the book. Like, I enjoyed the book. I know he wrote this during a really rough time, because it was a span of like just going through the new election after coming off of Trump, and then also going through the passing of his mother, which was really hard. That he kind of was working on the book and dealing with a lot of other issues. He's from Texas, and the pandemic hit, so he did go back to Texas, which he talks about in the book. And then we all know what happened in Texas, where they lost power. It was just like really a weird. It was 2020 was a very weird moment, and even like the 2 years after that, it just was like really weird. It's like almost like the world went on halt, but then tried to pick back up, and it just was still weird. So he talked about that in the book. But some of the chapters that I really enjoyed was Please Unblock Me, Tony Braxton, which is the first chapter. And he basically goes over, you know, sometimes you can be very opinionated when you're writing about certain people or commenting about certain people, but you have to be careful, and not to say you shouldn't censor fully what you say, but be aware that the things that you say about people can come back to you, especially if you're working in a small niche industry like the entertainment industry or journalism. It can come back. So you want to be mindful of those things. And I think he did a great way of explaining his experiences. He talks about a little bit, it's not really spoiling, but he talks about he had a run-in with Lee Daniels. And I'll let you guys read that if you get the book. It was very funny. And some other people as well. He talked about his run-in with Don Lemon. It's just like, it's just, it's hilarious. Some other chapters I'll just read. Sit back and enjoy the troll, which he talks about watching the play Set It Off by Jacarius Johnson, which I didn't want to see that play, but I did want to see the New Jack City play, which I don't think it's playing anymore, but I did want to see that. And he just talked about that, and he also talked about Jeremy O'Hara's play Slave Play, and just like that whole experience. And it was a very interesting piece that he wrote, which I have to say, like, okay, let me just read this. So what prompted Jeremy O'Hara to write this play was his experience with dating. He says, I only knew of Harris through an essay he had penned years prior called Decolonizing My Desire. The first line of it went as follows. I can place the exact moment when white bodies colonized my subconscious and when blue-eyed men with sun-kissed arms began to hold my desires upon their shoulders like Atlas. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was just like, whoa. And I've heard of Slave Play. I missed the tour when they came to LA. I don't know if I was curious because people were raving about it, but Michael Arceneaux has his own opinion about it. But even reading that, I'm just like, damn, like that's a lot to say. Like, you had to get rid of the decolonizing of white bodies in your mind. And it makes me think about what's going on right now with a certain comedian who has came out and is showcasing their life through a reality style documentary, Gerard Carmichael. And just like he said he does not do slave play with his partner. However, the joke that he made was very much a slave play joke. But also the clips that I have seen of him interacting with the other white gay men that he has been dealing with, and he made, like, the comments that he make, I'm just like, if you don't do slave play now, you're tiptoeing into it. Because he would say stuff like, and there's no judgment on Gerard, but I wonder if this is a similar thing. I wonder if this is a similar thing with Gerard. Like, if our white bodies, like, just consuming his mind. And this is, yeah, it just was very interesting. It was very interesting that this, he wrote about this, and then this happened with Gerard. And I was just like, whoa, this is interesting. One of my favorite chapters is DMJ, where he talks about his experience living in New York in his old apartment, which now he lives in LA. And he talks about his neighbor's girlfriend, and that whole experience, and how he attempted to try to date a white guy that lived across from him, and that whole experience. It was just very funny, interesting. that was like one of my favorite chapters. Empty Symbols. Empty Symbols, which he is basically a lot of political commentary where he talks about Pete Buttigieg. I always hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, but Pete Buttigieg, and how I'll let you read it, but just like his commentary on his thoughts about him running and being an openly gay man, his thoughts about Andrew Gilliam, and just a lot of other thoughtful political commentary that does spark thought and conversation. Oh my goodness, two of my other favorite chapters is I'll Give You My Last, where he's basically talking about his father, and in his previous book he does talk about, you know, the dynamic between his father and the relationship with his mother. I'm not going to go into that. I would prefer for you to read it, but he does talk about just a little bit of the toxicity in his household, but how he still loves his father, and it's just like beautifully done. How It Feels Outside is another one of my favorite chapters, which also goes into like usually how his conversation goes with his father. It always starts with the weather, and they ease into small talk, and also his mom would do the same thing, but their conversation is more in depth. They can like talk about anything, but you know, he talks about his dad, and his dad referenced like, I'm just a poor black man, but I'll give you my last. It's just like really it's just like very endearing. And then I hope I get to become a happy old black man, which he talks about just some issues of like there have been a lot of unaliving of black queer men, and then just like from, I don't want to say the word, but it starts with the S and it's unaliving, so you know what I'm saying. But he suffered from a friend who actually took their life, and he also has talked about in the past how he had thoughts of it. And he talks about his nieces and how, you know, he loves the way that his sister is raising them, and like his niece wishes him happy Pride Month. Like it's just like happy Pride, and it's just like really refreshing to read. That's just a few of the chapters which I just kind of briefly, vaguely talked about, because I want you to read the book. It is really a really good book, and he wrote this through a very trying time. Through, like I said, during this time, his mother had cancer, and he wrote this book through that process. So, which I know was a very hard. That he even talked. I got a chance to meet him at his book signing, which happened to take place at Reparations Club, which is a Black-owned bookstore here in Los Angeles. I'm going to try to insert some clips of
I'm best-selling author of I Can't Date Jesus, Love, Sex, Family, Race, and Other Reasons I Put My Faith in Beyonce. I Don't Want to Die Poor. And, you know, obviously his newest one, I finally bought some Jordans. He has written for the New York Times, the Washington Post, Essence, Esquire, Ebony, Elle, Rolling Stone, and many other publications on and off Al Gore's internet. He's run his mouth on MSNBC, NPR, VH1, Viceland, Comedy Central, Sirius XM, and elsewhere. He currently lives in Los Angeles. We got
I'm glad people came. May she rest.
May she rest.
I acknowledge Tamar Braxton's first album, which she don't even do. I find it very, thank you. I find it really offensive that Tony Braxton got me blocked.
Yeah, so please support Reparations Club bookstore. They have a website. I'll link their store below. If you can't come to Los Angeles, if you're not in Los Angeles, you can support them online. I do the same thing for the Silver Room, which is a black-owned bookstore in Chicago. I support them online because I'm not in Chicago. So yeah, I highly recommend checking that out. But some other chapters, just to kind of give you an idea of the other chapters that I didn't really mention, who all gonna be there, which we all know what that means. Taking my own advice, which was a really good chapter as well, when it talking about his dating experience, and him being a late bloomer. I can see my teeth, which was funny, but also it just shows how people will troll. Better to cry now than never. That was a really good chapter as well. Insurrections have roaches. That chapter was crazy. That was a crazy experience. That, and then Forgive Me, Beyonce, for I Have Sinned, which was a hilarious chapter about, Renaissance. Because when a lot of people initially heard Renaissance, they were like, what the hell is this? I didn't have that thought. I don't know. I kind of caught on, and I kept listening to the same songs over and over. It took me a minute to get to the later end of the album. And also Michael Arceneaux, he mentioned in the book that he didn't like Thick. And I'm like, why don't you like Thick? It's such a good song. But yeah, those are just a few chapters. He also dedicated the book to his mother, which was very thoughtful. And of course, one of the chapters was called I Finally Bought Some Jordans. He talks about, being consumed with just having your student loans on your back. He really talked about that a lot in I Don't Want to Die Poor, because when you have student loan debt, it's just like he went to Howard University, and he got some private loans, and it's just like those things can rack up. But he paid off a good portion of his student loans. Now he just have like, I think, some private loans, but he paid off basically his student loans. And he had a conversation with his friend, like, she was like, you should buy yourself something. And he's like, no, I don't want to buy myself anything. And that's something that a lot of us, when we come from working class backgrounds and we work really hard for our money, we have a poverty stricken mindset of like, I don't want to spend this. I don't know the next time this will come, especially if you are an artist and you kind of freelance. You kind of are hesitant about your money. He even talks about how he wanted to, when his money got right, he wanted to fly his mother out to New York. She never seen, his apartment and see like how he lived out there. He never got a chance to do that because his mother passed away. So it's like sometimes these things kind of hold us hostage and wanting to get out of that. And that was one of the gifts that he got for himself when he paid off his student loans. He bought himself some Jordans. So, and that's a small drop in the bucket. Like, buying, I do want Black people to, and other people, to understand, like, yes, being frugal and responsible, it is great. But buying a $5 coffee, treating yourself to one thing that's like a couple of dollars, $100, that is not keeping you impoverished. It's just like there's a bigger thing here, and I think we hold on to these things, and it keeps us stagnant in some sense of like not really living our life. And I even am talking to myself and different things. I want to travel more locally. I that is something that I really want to do, And of course, I live within my means, but I don't travel a lot because I'm like living in my means, and I'm just like, no, I want to be responsible, and it's like I want to get up out of there. So that's a few of my thoughts about Michael Arceneaux's new book. I finally bought some Jordans. Like I said, you can purchase this. I actually had pre-ordered mine on Amazon. I didn't even know that. I found out at the last minute that he was doing the book signing at Reparations Club. So um, I wish I kind of would have bought it from there, but I don't know. Like, I'm almost at 100 subscribers. Like, once I hit 100 subscribers, I'm gonna try to do a giveaway. So I think this book is either this book or this book. I'll do this book if I get 100 subscribers and I can do a giveaway. This will be one of the things in my giveaway. Like, I'll purchase a copy of the book for one of you all, and I'll try to do like a giveaway. Hopefully I could do like a few other things just to say thank you. But I'm almost at 100 subscribers. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Also, let me know if you have read the book. If you have read any of Michael Arceneaux's work, please comment down below. Let me know your thoughts about it. Yeah, so that concludes this video. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.